Can we go to the wide shot? Can we go to camera B? Okay, do you guys see that over my shoulder on the Vesta board? This little guy, this alien, is joining us for the show today because I want to do something just a little bit different on the show today. We have covered a lot of heavy topics recently because it's necessary to talk about heavy topics. We have talked a lot about the Nashville shooting, this massacre of children and teachers at the Christian school in Nashville by this woman who identifies as transgender. And that stuff, it's really heavy. We have to talk about it. It's what's happening in our culture. It's a threat. We've talked about January 6th stuff. But I've been wanting to do a fun show with you guys for a couple weeks now. We just always get caught up in these news cycles. So last weekend, I posted on Instagram, I posted on Locals, I posted on Twitter, which is where I talk to you guys on those platforms. Or that's where I talk to you most, I should say. And I asked you guys, what is your favorite conspiracy theory? And the reason I asked this is because, as we do, I was talking to a friend about a conspiracy theory that I actually believe in. And I'll tell you what that is a little bit later in the show. And I wanted to know what conspiracies you guys either found intriguing or which conspiracy theories you believe in. I know we have faced in this country, not to get too political here, this is not going to be a particularly political show, but I know we faced a lot of accusations, at least those of us on the right have faced accusations of propagating conspiracy theories that turned out, yes, to be conspiracies, but not to be conspiracy theories. That is not what we're going to talk about today. Maybe just one or two, because me, I can't resist getting a little political with this stuff. But your answers were so funny. I read through thousands of responses that you guys sent. And so I want to scroll through some of these. Some of these I've never even heard of. So I want to look them up in real time and discuss them because there are the best of the best conspiracy theories on here and the worst of the worst. And I would just say from the outset, there is a difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theory, right? We know that conspiracies do exist. We know that, again, not to be too political here, but we know that the FBI was weaponized against the Trump administration, and that wasn't a conspiracy theory, it was a conspiracy. And the major difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theory is that a conspiracy theory makes an allegation that's and based on the fact that it's unfalsifiable, the phrase that would identify a conspiracy theory as being unfalsifiable is saying, well, you can't disprove this, therefore it's probably true. And I know we don't care about this now. We just want to talk about the actual conspiracy theories, the good ones. It was a point that I wanted to make, but today, who cares about that? I want to get to the best conspiracy theories of all time. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, guys, I want to talk to you about Four Patriots. Four Patriots, this is an example, actually, of a conspiracy that is not a conspiracy theory. Experts say that China is hoarding a massive amount of food. And in fact, such a massive amount, they're soon going to have 2/3 of the globe's corn reserves, over half of its rice, and over half of its wheat. But when the Chinese Communist Party that runs China is asked about this, they do what they do. They lie. In fact, one China expert said they, of course, will never admit to something like hoarding food. But this brings up a very interesting question. What does the Chinese Communist Party know that we don't know? Why are they hoarding this food? The answer to that is when it comes to global food shortages, China is the canary in the coal mine. You see, China is the world's #1 food importer. They rely on us, the rest of the world, to keep their people fed. So they can't afford to mess up or they're going to face riots, civil panic, maybe even worse, when their people, over 1 billion people, can't eat. So what does this mean for you and for me? 2 words: food shortages. We are going to face food shortages. That's why I highly recommend you stock up on Four Patriots survival food. Create your own stockpile. The kits where the food is, they're compact, they stack easy, they can store for a while. They have different breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. And right now, I got you a great deal. You can get 10% off your first purchase of Four Patriots survival food by using my promo code Liz at checkout. Just go to 4patriots.com, use code Liz to get 10% off your first purchase of Four Patriots survival food. That's 4patriots.com, use promo code Liz for 10% off. You'll be glad you did. Okay, are we ready? The best conspiracy theories of all time, and this is crowdsourced. This is not my opinion. I do have actually 2 favorite conspiracy theories that I believe. I buy into them. I don't think they're conspiracy theories. I think they're conspiracies. I'm going to share that with you in a couple minutes. I want to get to some of yours first. Some of these I haven't even looked up. I'm not familiar with, so we're going to walk through them together. Again, I ask you on Instagram, on Locals, and on Twitter what the best conspiracies are. Which ones you read or you hear and you think, I don't know if I want to admit this, but I'm pretty sure I think that's real. I'm pretty sure I think that's true. If you're not already, following and connected with me on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Rumble, go ahead, get connected, hit that follow button. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify so you never miss any of these shows. But today it's not political like usual. Today is just a fun episode. Okay, the best conspiracy theories of all time. You ready? Drum roll, please. The first one is Justin Trudeau and Fidel Castro. Oh, this is a really good one. This is a really good one that I confess to you. I wanted to believe in this one. I'm actually going to look this up to get the exact details. Justin Trudeau, Fidel Castro. Oh, I love how the first results are, no, Fidel Castro is not the Canadian Prime Minister, Trudeau's father. So the conspiracy theory here is that Fidel Castro, the former communist dictator of Cuba, is actually Justin Trudeau's father, or that Justin Trudeau is the love child of his mother and Fidel Castro, because I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of Justin Trudeau next to a picture of a young Fidel Castro, but they look really, really similar. Like very much doppelgangers from a different era here. So the AP, this is all I Googled. I Googled Justin Trudeau, Fidel Castro, and the top result here was no, Fidel Castro is not Canada Prime Minister Trudeau's father. But then the reason, by the way, that this conspiracy theory was born and the reason that I wanted to believe this is because when Fidel Castro died several years back, Justin Trudeau released a statement that's like the most horrendous statement that you could possibly make. Fidel Castro was a murderous dictator. Like he was one of the worst dictators in the history of the modern world. And this is what Justin Trudeau said in response to his death. Quote, "It is with deep sorrow that I learned today of the death of Cuba's longest serving president. Fidel Castro was a larger than life leader who served his people for almost half a century, a legendary revolutionary and orator. Mr. Castro made significant improvements to the education and healthcare of his island nation. While a controversial figure," Trudeau says, "both Mr. Castro's supporters and detractors recognized his tremendous dedication and love for the Cuban people, who had a deep and lasting affection for El Comandante." What? I remember reading that at the time and being like, what is wrong with Justin Trudeau? Like, obviously Justin Trudeau is a weirdo and a loser who is one of the worst things that's ever happened to Canada. But to praise Fidel Castro in this way, especially when Fidel Castro, do not understand those words, a murderous dictator. And then, of course, Justin Trudeau talks about how much his father loved Fidel Castro when his father met him. And here's the thing. Justin Trudeau's mother was 22 years old when she married Justin's father, who was 51 at the time. A very May-December romance. Like a 22-year-old and a 51-year-old, that's super creepy. Very creepy. And Justin Trudeau's mother was known for having affairs. She would actually leave Canada, come down to the United States, and she had affairs with Hollywood celebrities. And so it wasn't out of the realm of possibility to propose that she might have stepped out on Justin's father just at the time that Justin was conceived. There's also a picture of Justin's mother with Fidel Castro, and they look fairly buddy-buddy. So like I said, I wanted to believe this. I think, unfortunately, it turns out that this is not true because the exact weeks or the exact time period during which Justin Trudeau would have had to been conceived, given his birthday, Trudeau's mother was not in Cuba at that time. So that is a good conspiracy theory, though. You got to admit, that's a pretty good one. Okay, the next one. What did you guys say for the next one? The next one is the JFK conspiracy theory. So the JFK conspiracy theory is that the CIA killed JFK. I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory. I think this might be a conspiracy. Do you remember a couple months ago when the CIA, who, by the way, have a legal obligation to release all of the JFK files, our government has to release that publicly. They're just doing it slowly because they don't want us to know about this. But at the time that they released the last batch of JFK files, there was indication that the CIA was, in fact, behind this, that Lee Harvey Oswald, who was the official assassin of JFK, was controlled in some way by the CIA. And then Tucker Carlson on his show on Fox News was covering this, and he said that he had a source inside of the CIA who had intimate knowledge of the part of the JFK files that has not yet been released, that confirmed to Tucker that the CIA was, in fact, behind the assassination of JFK. So I'm going to leave that one up to you guys. Is that a conspiracy or is that a conspiracy theory? That is one of the good ones because the best you can't tell. Although it has a really dark side. It's maybe not as hard for us now after what we saw during COVID. It's maybe not as hard for us to believe that the United States government would do something like that to American citizens. But, after January 6th and after labeling parents who don't want critical race theory at their kids' schools domestic terrorists, after calling Catholics potential violent militia extremists or whatever it was that the FBI called them, it becomes just a tiny bit more believable. Okay, what's next on this list? Oh, aliens is next, but not just aliens. Aliens and Antarctica. Oh, what is this one? I don't know this one. Let me look it up. Aliens, Antarctica. Whoops, nope, I accidentally typed in aliens movie. Antarctica. Okay, let's see what this is. Oh, interesting. Okay. So evidently, there is a conspiracy. Oh, this is a wide-ranging conspiracy. Evidently, there is a conspiracy theory that says that aliens occupy Antarctica. I'm not sure whether the conspiracy theory is that they live inside the Earth and that the portal to the outside world is in Antarctica, or whether they just have come to Antarctica and have a base there. This conspiracy, there's a map that's associated with this conspiracy, an actual map here that I'm looking at. So this conspiracy is that, I don't know if this is related to the flat Earth conspiracy, but there's a conspiracy that there are aliens that travel between the North and the South Pole in Antarctica, and that they have Coast Guard guarding. Oh, this is a wild one. This is a really wild one. This is the same, on this same map is like a picture of a Nazi base. This is a really deep conspiracy. I have never heard of this one before. Although Antarctica is kind of notorious for being a favorite among conspiracy theorists because it is a frozen tundra. It is one of the final pieces of unexplored wilderness, and it takes immense survival skills to even go there. Plus, it's dark a lot and extremely cold. So, interesting aliens. I had not heard this specific one. That, like I said, it comes with a map. This is like hardcore. What is next on this list? This one is from Instagram, and it says Freemasons. Well, what's the conspiracy theory? The Freemasons are real, right? Let me Google this. Freemasons. I'll tell you right from the beginning what my pre-existing knowledge of Freemasons is that Freemasons are an organization that's actually, their secret goal is to overturn the Catholic Church. So I guess I'm articulating this conspiracy theory right now. I don't know that this is a conspiracy theory, though. This is a conspiracy. The Freemasons have infiltrated the hierarchy of the Catholic Church with the intention of perverting the theology and rising to places of power so that they can undermine the church from within and therefore stop this global force of Christianity. It's the largest Christian religion, obviously, in the world, the largest institutional power in the world, or the largest institutional Christian power in the world. The Freemasons disguise themselves as just being this fraternal order or whatever, but I don't think that that's true. I think they're similar to a cult, and I think they're similar to actually like a satanic and antichrist cult, and their goal is to I'm laughing not because this is funny. I'm laughing because I totally believe this one. I think this is a conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory. Like, these people actually are infiltrating the Catholic Church. They actually are. I say this you guys know I'm a practicing Catholic. They actually are trying to subvert the Catholic Church the way that the Marxists are trying to subvert America from within. They know they can't topple it from the outside, so they're trying to get inside of it. Christians should stay far, far away from Freemasons. Oh, the next conspiracy theory, this is kind of an oldie but a goodie, and I don't believe this one. As you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by nature. I'm not. I do enjoy hearing about a good conspiracy theory because I think they're fun and entertaining, but I don't typically buy into them. I am, however, a skeptic by nature. I am very skeptical by nature, so I always question the prevailing narrative, which I know can be a slippery slope to conspiracy theories, but I'm not naturally inclined to believe conspiracy theories. I don't believe this one. We're going to talk about it in just a second. But first, I want to talk about American Heart for Gold because I know I'm not the only one who is looking at the future and feeling a little insecure about it, a little uncertain, because we are getting less for more all the time and facing high inflation, soaring interest rates, and this looming recession is threatening our businesses, our jobs, and our retirement funds. And then you add into this the uncertainty in the banking and financial industry, these banks that have failed. You wonder about your investments. You wonder if your money is safe. Fortunately, there is a way to secure your hard-earned nest egg and avoid this volatility. You can do what I did. You can call the only precious metals dealer that I trust, American Hartford Gold. They make it simple and easy to protect your savings and your retirement accounts with physical gold and silver. So the banking system that seems on the verge of collapse will not destroy your livelihood and your savings. One short phone call is all it takes, and they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside your IRA or 401k. And if you call them right now, they will give you up to $1,500 of free silver on your first order. So don't wait. Call them right now. Call 866-781-7499. That's 866-781-7499, or text Liz to 65532. Again, the phone number is 866-781-7499, or text Liz to 65532. Okay, so this conspiracy theory, and I hate to disappoint you here, that I do not buy into, is that the fake moon landing. This conspiracy is exactly what it sounds like. The moon landing in the 1960s, the famous picture of the astronauts, the American astronauts on the moon, that this was all staged. Okay, I am gonna Google this because one of the things that I don't get is why moon landing conspiracy. Hold on, let me interrupt myself. What would be the purpose of faking this? That's my question. What would be the motivation for the US government to fake this? Would it just be to thumb their noses in the face of the Soviets because we were having this like race to space? I'm not sure that we would have been able to pull that off. I'm not sure that we would have been able to. Okay, well, this webpage. Oh, there we go. Internet was a little. So one of the primary part of this, or the primary conspiracy theory, is that the flag in the very, very famous picture of Buzz Aldrin saluting the flag, that the flag was flapping in the wind. But how could it be flapping in the wind if there's no atmosphere on the moon? So clearly this was staged, and there's additional evidence, according to these conspiracy theories, that this was staged because there would have been only one source of light in these photographs. But if you look at the shadow of Buzz Aldrin on the moon and the shadow of the flag, the shadows are not parallel shadows. The shadows are actually about to converge, which would suggest that there was more than one origin of the light source causing the shadows to fall, which means that it couldn't have been on the moon because there was only one source of light on the moon. Yes, I just love how detailed conspiracy theorists get. The reason I don't believe this is because anybody who has ever staged a show, I actually only know this because we have traveling sets and we have done innumerable setups where you just manipulate one source of light in a certain way, and you can do almost anything with the shadow. And it doesn't require this really complicated setup. Like just with a camera and a camera angle and one light and a person, you can make it look almost any way. It's almost like your fisheye lens on your iPhone. You can take one thing and you can distort it. So I don't think that is the basis of a good conspiracy theory, the parallel shadow thing. But the really critical part of debunking the American flag waving in the wind when there's no atmosphere on the moon is that NASA foresaw this issue. They knew they wanted the American flag to appear to be waving. They knew it wouldn't wave because they understood there was no atmosphere on the moon. So what they did is they had a metal rod at the top of the flag to hold it. So it's actually like a flag that's draped. The bottom, however, was not draped, and the flag itself had been like crumbled basically during the flight to the moon. So it appeared in its crumbled form even as it was strung on this flagpole, not just hung on the side. So that one I have to call conspiracy theory on simply because I happen to know that fact. I don't remember when I learned that fact, but I happen to know that they did have a metal rod that made the flag straight. So if you believe in that, I'm sorry to burst your bubble. So this next one is a really recent one. This is one that I confess I had not heard about. Maybe this makes me uncool because apparently it was generated by Gen Z and it went viral on TikTok. So I'm not on TikTok for better or for worse. I had not heard of this. I did Google it yesterday or the day before when I was looking through these. And this one is that birds aren't real. That birds aren't real. Instead, they are robotic drones operated by the government in order to surveil us. I read that and I was like, ooh, that's one I almost want to believe. It's obviously too fantastical. And the truth of the matter is the birds aren't real conspiracy theory isn't like a real conspiracy theory because the people who invented it invented it as a joke. They invented it just to troll people. They don't actually even buy into it. They just invented it to kind of demonstrate how quickly a conspiracy theory can take root, and for the fun of it, because it's incredibly fun. So birds aren't real. They are robotic drones operated by the government in order to surveil us so that they can control us. Isn't a real conspiracy theory, and it's not even a real conspiracy. So I don't know if you guys had heard of that one before. I have not. This one, however, this conspiracy theory of government control, I don't think this is a conspiracy theory. I think this is real. This one is also this one's from Locals. This is from the Liz Wheeler Show community on Locals that said that we are being watched through our TVs. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think we had actual evidence. Didn't we have a court case where smart TVs were spying on people? I'm going to look this one up. TVs are being spied on, people being spied on through their smart TV. Yeah, no, this is a real thing. This is not even a conspiracy theory. This is, I don't know if I would call it a conspiracy because it didn't have control behind it. This was like a data harvesting scheme. But, oh yeah, so there were actual court cases. LG smart TVs, this is what this article that I'm reading says, LG smart TVs were found to be collecting and transmitting data without user permission. It's not just LG. In 2017, Vizio was fined for failing to disclose how and when it collected user information, as well as transmitting collected data unencrypted. And this included, oh, this is so creepy. This included not Vizio, but some of these other smart TVs did activate the TV's camera and microphone to spy on you in your own home. And then they sold your personal data to third-party companies, basically selling it to advertisers so that they could target you better. Oh, does that just give you the chills, the absolute creeps? I believe it. I believe it because I know that my iPhone does this. Well, God forbid my iPhone's camera be activated, but I know my iPhone does this with audio. And I know also, by the way, I know that you can change these settings. You can change it on Google, you can change it on your Android, you can change it on iPhone to not have the microphone record, even in snippets, even for voice recognition. And I've done it. I have turned off all of those functions, but it still does it. It still does it. And I think the way it does it is it does it through apps. I don't think that it's actually maybe Apple itself, but Instagram, for example, let's not be vague here. This is Instagram that I'm talking about. If I talk about anything, like, for example, I'm in the middle of potty training my 2-year-old right now, and I haven't looked anything up about this on my phone. Why would I need to research that? But I have talked about this. I talked about it to my husband after he got home from work, told him about the progress for the day, talk about it with my daughter. And lo and behold, what shows up on all of my social media are advertisements for different potty training methods and different products that are supposed to make it easier, even though I have not looked up anything about this. Of course, our devices are spying on us. It's a conspiracy, but not a conspiracy theory. It's real. It's true. Okay, what is next here? Oh, I know I said the show wasn't going to be political, but we got to get political for 1 minute. We got to get political for just 1 second. This is a good one. This is from Instagram too. Or no, I'm sorry. This one's from Twitter. Hey guys, I regret to inform you that this section is censored thanks to the YouTube overlords and our effort not to get permanently booted from YouTube after getting a strike and getting demonetized. You can head over to Rumble or Locals though. This content is available for free on both Rumble and Locals. You can catch the full uncensored episode there. I'll see you over there. These next two are wild. These next two are one of them I could see it being true. And the other one I read an entire book about once. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first I want to talk to you about bank on yourself. We have been brainwashed into believing, a conspiracy theory you might say, that the only way to grow our money for retirement is to risk it in the stock market. This, I am here to tell you, is not true. You can reach your financial goals and dreams without taking any unnecessary risks. Do you really control your retirement money? That is the question. Well, if you have a 401k or an IRA or similar retirement plan, the government actually controls it. They decide how much you can borrow and when you must pay it back, and you will owe taxes and penalties for taking money out too soon or waiting too long, even though it is your money. And thanks to a skyrocketing national debt and a Congress that continues to spend like a drunken sailor, who knows how much you'll have to pay in taxes during a retirement that could last 30 years. Bank on yourself is a better way to grow and protect your hard-earned money. This retirement plan alternative has never had a losing year in over 160 years. You are in control. You get access to your money for any purpose with no questions asked and without government penalties or restrictions on how much income you can take or when you can take it. Try doing that with your 401k or IRA. You can't. You can, however, get a free report with all the details on how the Bank on Yourself strategy adds guarantees, predictability, and control to your financial plan. Just go to bankonyourself.com/Liz. That's bankonyourself.com/Liz. Okay, these next two came from Twitter, and these are wild conspiracy. The first conspiracy is that dinosaurs are not real and never were, that they never existed, that they are just a conspiracy theory. This is what I will say. I have no idea, and neither does anyone else. There are many things about the history of the world that we accept as fact when they are just a scientific theory. They are a hypothesis. It cannot be a scientific fact unless you can prove it or unless you can't disprove it. If it's been tested and you get repetitive answers, there's no way to actually know whether there was dinosaurs. So I wouldn't say that I buy into this, but there are so many things. There are so many things like climate change, for example. Oh, that's not on the list, but maybe that's a conspiracy theory. There are so many things that we accept as fact that aren't based on actual history, historical evidence, and that we can't replicate and we can't prove. We're just speculating. So like dinosaurs are the same thing. There's some evidence that there's dinosaurs. I know that we found fossils and bones and all of that, but you can't actually prove that there are dinosaurs. So I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, because what would be the point of inventing that? That's not a mode to control people. It's not a religious belief. I'm not sure what the point of inventing it would be, but I think it's possible that it's a figment of someone's imagination. We don't know for a fact that dinosaurs, the exact way that they're portrayed in our culture in Hollywood movies and science and everything, we don't know for a fact that that is true. It's just speculation and theory based on some good evidence and some conjecture. So that's what I will say about that. I know that one's a controversial one. The next one is that William Shakespeare didn't exist. This is the one, I read an entire book about this once accidentally. The conspiracy theory is, there's actually several Shakespeare conspiracy theories, but they amount to that William Shakespeare was either a composite, that he himself didn't exist as a person, but just other famous playwrights wrote kind of avant-garde works and published it under a pseudonym so that they didn't get punished in that time, culturally punished or even legally punished in that time. And then there was, that's sort of one bucket of the conspiracy theory. Another bucket is that William Shakespeare was one other person who wasn't famous and didn't want to be known, and that he wrote under the name of William Shakespeare, but he left symbols or like secret messages in his writing that if we wanted to employ, cryptographers to crack this, crypto analysts, that they could actually break this code and we could figure out who William Shakespeare actually was. So wild, super wild conspiracy theories. I read a book once. This was like 3, 4, 5 years ago. I read a book once about I forget the title of it, but I read a book once about the man and woman who were the pioneers behind cryptography, behind code breaking. And it was actually a man who's credited in history often for being like the founding member of cryptography, but it was his wife, Elizabeth. His name was William. Her name was Elizabeth. I think their last name was Friedman. I should look this up so that I'm not just speculating. Hold on. William and Elizabeth. I think it's Friedman. Elizabeth Friedman. Oh, yeah. It's William Friedman. And married to Elizabeth Friedman. And they were the ones who pioneered like code breaking. And they pioneered code breaking for the US government during the wars, but during the world wars, I should say. But before they worked for the US government, they worked for this private millionaire, and a millionaire in that time in the early 1900s, I guess maybe like the 1920s or something, 1930s. A millionaire was like a big deal, right? Like a millionaire now, like a lot of people are millionaires. Millionaire back then was like today's equivalent of a billionaire. They worked for this really eccentric millionaire who hired them to go through William Shakespeare's original like plays and documents to try to break his code and find his secret messages to prove that William Shakespeare was not actually William Shakespeare, but somebody else. That's what they were originally hired to do. And they did it because it paid money. That's actually where they met doing this. William and Elizabeth Friedman met while working for this guy. And then they got married and they ultimately worked for the US government. And they did not believe in this conspiracy. I don't know what they felt at the beginning. They were probably just happy to have a job working, in code breaking. They did not believe in it. And they ultimately, obviously, couldn't prove this. Couldn't prove that William Shakespeare had left secret messages in his plays telling us that he was someone else. So I guess based on that book that I read a long time ago, I don't believe that William Shakespeare was a composite or don't believe that William Shakespeare was someone else. But it is interesting. Very interesting. Okay, the next one is, this one's from Twitter as well. Bill Gates and mosquitoes as vaccines. Let me look this one up. I think I know what this one is. Bill Gates and mosquitoes. Okay, I didn't think that this was a conspiracy theory. This is a real thing that Bill Gates wants to do. Bill Gates wants to genetically modify mosquitoes so that when they bite people, they're like vaccinate people. This is like a legit thing that he wants to do. He's done it, actually. He's tested it. So this is definitely a conspiracy. This is not a conspiracy theory. And this is just horrifying. This is what this article said. Bill Gates funded firm released 150,000 genetically modified mosquitoes into the wild. According to the study, researchers have bioengineered male mosquitoes to mate with the wild female population. The genetically engineered males carry a gene that passes to their offspring and kills female progeny. The male child won't die, but they'll continue to possess the gene that will pass on to future generations. So wait a second, is this intended, this is actually different because this is intended to kill the mosquito population versus there definitely, I've read this before, there definitely was a proposal. I don't know that Bill Gates did this, but he proposed the idea to harness mosquitoes, to genetically modify them so that when they bite people, they transmit vaccination. I mean, talk about creepy. Talk about creepy. This is like the creepiest of the creepy. I would not put anything past Bill Gates. So I guess I would rate that one as I kind of believe it. I mean, I don't believe that he's done it already, but I believe he wants to do it because his firms, his people have stated that he wants to do this. So why wouldn't I believe that? I think one of the mistakes, and I know this is one political point. I know I said I wasn't going to be political today, but I am for a second. One of the mistakes that people on the right often make when it comes to understanding the left is we don't believe them when they tell us exactly what they're going to do. I don't know if we don't hear them or we have a hard time fathoming that they would actually do that because it's so nutty, but the left oftentimes tells us directly what they intend to do. And for some reason, like 10 years later, we act so surprised and shocked when they do what they told us they were going to do 10 years ago. This is the same with Bill Gates and mosquitoes. He told us what he wants to do, so it's on us if we're surprised when he actually does this. This next one is from Instagram. Oh, I have not heard this one. The conspiracy is that Stevie Wonder isn't blind. Is that a real conspiracy theory? Hold on. Stevie Wonder isn't blind. I'm Googling it. Oh, this is a... Shaquille O'Neal. Actually, okay. So the top hit here on Google when I Google Stevie Wonder isn't blind is Shaq questions Stevie Wonder's blindness. This is apparently a widespread conspiracy theory. I've not heard this before. There's like a Mirror article about it, a Sports Illustrated article about it, a Deadspin article about it. Let's read the Deadspin one, because the Deadspin one says Stevie Wonder is not blind, the Truthers case. The Truthers case said, okay, says Stevie Wonder was born on May 13th, 1950, and was rendered blind shortly after his birth. Per Wikipedia, he was born premature, 6 weeks premature, and with the oxygen-rich atmosphere in the hospital incubator, resulted in retinopathy of prematurity, a condition in which the growth of the eyes is aborted and causes the retinas to detach, so he became blind. Okay. So what's the conspiracy? The conspiracy... Oh, this is the conspiracy. So they're quoting the Stevie Wonder Truther blog. I can't believe that exists. Someone has an entire website dedicated to a Stevie Wonder Truther conspiracy theory. But apparently this website says, I watched an interview with Boy George a few months ago, and he reckons that Stevie Wonder's not completely blind, since Stevie Wonder once came over and playfully strangled him at a party, and Boy George was like, how could he know where I was if he's completely blind? Oh, I see. I don't believe this one. Let me rephrase this. Oftentimes, the phrase blind is used to apply, or is applied to people that have only met the threshold of a certain amount of loss of sight. It actually doesn't always mean that you are completely blind, like only see like black or only see white. It means once you've hit that threshold. Like I had a friend growing up who was considered to be legally blind, but she like lives a normal life. She had very thick glasses. She was required to wear those glasses when she drove a car. I think she was allowed to drive a car. But she was considered legally blind because the damage to her eyesight was significant enough that it passed the threshold. So I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory or if this is a medical terminology technicality. And I don't know that Stevie Wonder, maybe he has. I've never heard of this conspiracy theory until today, but I don't know if he's ever shared how blind he is on that spectrum. I don't know. This next one, a conspiracy theory that Khloe Kardashian is O.J. Simpson's daughter. I know the background to this one. So the background to this one is that Khloe Kardashian's biological father, Robert Kardashian, originally married to Kris Jenner, had the four original Kardashian children. It was Kourtney, Kim, Khloe, and Robert, before Robert and Kris divorced, and then Kris married Bruce Jenner at the time. Khloe and Robert Kardashian was the defense lawyer for O.J. Simpson during O.J. Simpson's murder trial, because Robert Kardashian and Kris Jenner were friends with O.J. and Nicole. I already know this backstory, and the reason I know it is because I used to watch the Kardashians. So judge me all you want. I don't care. I don't anymore, if that makes a difference. But Khloe Kardashian looks nothing like the other children, right? It's hard to know what she looks like now because she's been rendered virtually unrecognizable by all of her plastic surgery. She looks like a plastic Barbie doll. But originally, before all the plastic surgery, Kourtney and Kim looked exactly the same. And they looked exactly like their mother. And Robert looked exactly like you would think a child of Kris Jenner and Robert Kardashian would look. But Khloe had a different color hair. She had a different shaped face. She had different skin color. She was very, very tall with like a bigger bone structure compared to her very tiny sisters. Like she did not look the same. She didn't look the same at all. And so the conspiracy is that Kris Jenner cheated on Robert Kardashian with O.J. Simpson, and maybe Khloe Kardashian is the product of that. There is no evidence. In fact, Khloe Kardashian, in an episode of the show, I am unashamed to tell you that I am already aware of this, did a DNA test to see if she was OJ's daughter. You know, because conspiracy theories get clicks, and she wanted to get clicks. And I believe that she at least said that the test was negative. So if you believe Khloe Kardashian, there you go. So now I would like to share with you my two favorite conspiracy theories. My two favorite conspiracy theories are, drumroll please, Jeffrey Epstein. I do not think that Jeffrey Epstein all of the speculation about who he was and who he worked for and what on earth did he do for a living? How did he get all that money? And who he's corrupted and who he had videotapes of. I don't think that that's a conspiracy theory. I think it's true. Jeffrey Epstein obviously did not kill himself in this supposedly maximum security prison in Manhattan. Obviously, he was murdered. And it was staged. I mean, you don't have two guards that are supposed to check on him every 15 minutes just become suddenly negligent and not check on him the entire night. That doesn't happen. You don't have the cellmate of someone who is supposedly on suicide watch just be randomly transferred away. And the video cameras that are supposed to constantly look at these cells be turned off. You don't have a criminal who really felt that he was going to be exonerated, really felt that he was going to be let out of prison any day, who had not shown signs of being depressed or suicidal. He really thought he was going to beat the system. That kind of person just doesn't kill themselves in this circumstance. Someone who commits a crime like this feels invincible, and it's not going to prison when you have as much power as Jeffrey Epstein doesn't render you, all of a sudden you feel like that you can be vanquished. You still feel invincible. And then, of course, the way that he was killed, when they did the autopsy of his body and they found that the hyoid bone in his neck was broken, that doesn't happen when you hang yourself. That happens when you're strangled. Jeffrey Epstein obviously didn't kill himself. I know it's a conspiracy theory to say that he was murdered. It's a popular conspiracy theory now because a lot of people believe it because it's true. But here's what I will say. Somebody killed him. And it wasn't just some other inmate in that prison. It wasn't just a disgruntled person who thought he was gross because he was a pedophile. Somebody with an enormous amount of power and institutional reach killed Jeffrey Epstein. And those people are still walking around the United States today. And if that doesn't give you a chill up your spine, then I don't know what is. Because if they can do this, they can not only pull off the murder of the highest profile inmate in the United States penal system, the entire penal system, but they can make this happen and then cover it up. And then they have so much political leverage that no one dares figure out how this happened. Well, good land, that is a frightening conspiracy. And it's one that I believe. The conspiracy theory that I believe, the second conspiracy theory that I believe, and this one just absolutely slays me. Remember when Alex Jones, we couldn't get through a whole conspiracy theory show without talking about Alex Jones. Remember when Alex Jones was originally branded as a conspiracy theorist? The reason he became what he was known for is because he said that the government was putting chemicals in the water that were turning frogs gay. And he had this huge angry rant about it. The video went viral. It still goes viral every once in a while because everyone was like, okay, Alex Jones, like, what are you on? To propose that chemicals in water are turning frogs gay. And of course, Alex Jones was contending that this is going to turn the US population gay too, yada, yada, yada. It turns out this is actually true. There's actual studies that show that the frogs are changing their sexual orientation. If frogs have sexual orientation, changing their mating habits, their bodies are changing, their reproductive systems are changing based on chemicals in the water. This was freaking true. And I just think that is the funniest darn thing that you can possibly imagine. Alex Jones, of all people, this is why he's called a conspiracy theorist, because he propagated the fact that the government's turning frogs gay. Well, they really are. They actually are turning frogs gay. And I don't know, these are the best conspiracy theories. I know that this doesn't even, you guys sent me thousands of these things. Thousands. And some of them are really dark. There's one last one that says that, or one last one, we're almost out of time here, that says that COVID was purposely released in order to eliminate older populations as the left believes we face a population crisis of baby boomers and not enough millennials and Gen Zers to take care of them. That is really dark. That's really dark. But you guys had so many submissions, so many funny ones, so many, conspiracies that aren't necessarily conspiracy theories. And I appreciate it. I hope you guys had fun with this episode. I wanted to, step back from the seriousness and the heaviness and the pain and tragedy that we talk about all the time on the show and just have a good time together. So if you haven't already subscribed to the show, go over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, hit subscribe on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and also hit the bell so I can notify you every time we have a new video for you. Same on Rumble. Rumble is the land of the free, so all of our uncensored content is on rumble.com/Liz Wheeler. And if you want to be a VIP in the Liz Wheeler Show community, go to lizwheelershow.com/locals. We would love to have you part of our VIP only community where you get extended segments and the opportunity to submit, conspiracy theories the next time we'll talk about it. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for listening. I'm Liz Wheeler. This is the Liz Wheeler Show. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button below, and ring the bell to make sure you never miss a video.